This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Orlando, for you, is the most underrated player in Miami Heat history that people don't talk a lot about. I'm a young guy, so I don't know any of the older players. Most underrated Miami Heat player of all time. Wow. Most underrated Miami Heat player of all time. So it has to be a person that's made an impact, but does not get the appreciation from the fans, like Zoe, like Timmy, like UD, like
national?
Wade. No, he said Miami Heat, bro.
I'm saying from a national media or just the Heat fans. You understand my point?
No, your point doesn't make any sense. It's the most. No, dude. The question is the most underrated Heat player of all time. That's it. Doesn't matter the national perspective or local. It doesn't matter. The facts are who is the most underrated, underappreciated player in Miami Heat history. Anthony Carter. Because if his agent doesn't forget to send in that paper, we don't get Shaq and we don't get the title. I'm joking. We do appreciate Anthony Carter's agent for that. Man, who would be maybe Sherman Douglas. Because Rice is appreciated, Wade's appreciated, UD's appreciated, Zoe's appreciated.
You know who never gets mentioned?
Timmy's appreciated. But I thought Sherman Douglas in those early years was kind of like a glue guy for all those guys. I don't think the little general gets the love he deserves for that early Heat team, that team that made the playoffs in that fourth year with Kevin Lockery. Maybe I'll go there as underappreciated because even as a point guard, he doesn't get as much love in Heat history, and I loved watching the little general play. Trying to think of somebody who goes underappreciated because if you go for the championship teams, most of those people are appreciated and mentioned constantly. UD and Wade and Shaq and Zoe and the big three and
You know who we love though that never ever gets mentioned much? Grant Long, bro.
Grant Long too?
He doesn't get mentioned enough. And we absolutely love that guy. He was our UD for that time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Some people have got Jamal Mashburn. No. Once he passed up the shot to Witherspoon, his life was over here. Rosendo says PJ Brown. Dude, that's a really good one. That's a really good one. Like, at the moment, people appreciated PJ Brown. Years later, nobody talks about PJ Brown except flipping Charlie Ward over into the stands. That's like PJ Brown's highlight moment. That's pretty good, man. I like the PJ Brown one.
You know what was the guard
Glenn
tandem?
Rice gets love, bro. G-Money gets love.
You know what was a guard tandem we loved when they came in?
Baby Jordan.
Bimbo Coles and Kevin Edwards together on the court.
Yep. Eric Murdoch.
How about a Cycles, bro? Because Cycle improved like the first 5 his stats got better and better.
No, Cycle
he was a forward playing center.
Yeah.
I mean,
Cycle is a good dude. Yeah, Cycle, that's a good one. But I'm gonna go Sherman Douglas. The PJ Brown one is fantastic. I love that one. I'm gonna slightly lean to Sherman because it was so long ago. You have to be an old Heat fan like me to really know and appreciate it. And he's forgotten. He's completely forgotten. And yet
the only place he's remembered is Syracuse.
Yeah, and yet his memories are in my mind forever on a lot of his games and a lot of what he meant to this team in running the offense. And he had that little floater in the lane. That was a sweet little floater. But, yeah, there's a couple guys there you could probably put at. Some guy put Cycli there too. Ike Austin. Problem with Ike Austin was he came for 1 year and then got his big contract with Orlando and left. So there wasn't enough time to really, I think Ike Austin has to be appreciative of Miami that helped him lose 90 pounds and go get a $9 million contract. Because I remember the contract. I swear to you, I'm pretty sure I'm right. He signed a 3-year, $9 million deal with Orlando. And in those days, that was pretty good money. But he should be more appreciative of Riley and Weight Watchers. Really. Eddie Jones is a pretty good one, too. Anthony says, it's funny for me. I'm a young guy, so my underrated player in the history is Mike Miller. Okay. I can see that. My problem with Mike is that he had so many injuries. That I know he had that one game where he had the 7 threes and all that stuff, and he was phenomenal. Rosendo says, General Sherman is not forgotten. Thunder Dan, that's a pretty good one, bro. Thunder Dan's a pretty good one because he blew out his back, lost the weight, became more of a three-point shooter and a perimeter defender, and he really helped out the Heat with perimeter defense and also clutch shooting. Dan Marley one, I can't argue with Dan Marley. I can't argue with Ronnie Cycli. I can't argue with Grant Long. I can't argue with P.J. Brown. I like my pick, Sherman Douglas. I think those are all pretty good candidates of guys that over the years don't get enough love. And look, you can understand from younger Heat fans, some of those that are older players, they weren't around for them, so they didn't watch them on an every night basis. Those of us that are old enough to have watched from the expansion year to now, we've watched everything. So we watch Jim Rosinski and Craig Neal and all those other cats take the court, Whole different ball game for us older guys. All right, we got to wrap it up here on the show. It is time to go. We thank all of you out there, as always, for tuning in.
Looking at the inaugural Heat tickets, you remember the inaugural season
Sure.
on it? I looked at it, I counted it up. As not even a season ticket holder, bro, 25 home games out of 42.
That's pretty good.
Like,
41. But yeah.
41, you're right. Talk about, dude, we were so happy. Do you remember how
of course.
And we had Billy Cunningham, and look at what Billy did with the Sixers. We're going to be in a championship in 5 years.
I remember going to the Sixers-Nets game at the Knight Center before we got, because they were testing us as an NBA city. For those of you that are young and you don't know how it happened, the NBA gave us an NBA game. They gave us Dr. J and the Nets and Chocolate Thunder, who used to play with Dr. J, Daryl Dawkins, was playing with the Nets. And so it was the Sixers and the Nets at the Miami Knight Center. And so they wanted to see if we would pack the Knight Center, which is kind of bogus because the Knight Center is like this size. You know what I mean? That was because we didn't really have a big arena in those days. The biggest arena would have to be that we would have to go to the Miami Beach Convention Center.
You had Hollywood Sportatorium. And you know what? The big was James L. What was it?
But I think that if I
Key Auditorium, right. And dude, Miami Hialeahl. Remember concerts were at Miami Hialeah.
Yeah, but I mean they weren't going to put a court there, so
right?
It's probably
dude, exactly.
It's probably somewhere like that. So they had to do it in the Knight Center, right? And they brought an NBA court and laid it out, and we went there. Those of us that were lucky enough, because I don't know if there's more than 3,000-4,000 people fit in the Knight Center. Maybe for a concert. I mean, for a game, I think for a concert it's like 2,500 or 3,000. But they reconfigured it. Whatever. We went for the game. I was a huge Dr. J fan, so I had to go to that game.
You were a 76ers fan.
Yeah, right. I was a 76ers fan because we didn't have the Heat. I was a Dr. J 76ers fan, and so I was happy and I was also going to see Chocolate Thunder again, which was cool because the last time I was up in Philadelphia once to see the Sixers at Spectrum, And at that time, Darryl Dawkins was playing with them. But it was cool to see all that, and then that was like our test. And when they saw that we would support that, they awarded us the heat after, and then we got the heat.
Same principle as with Joe Robbie, because I went to both games.
Yep.
When we played the Yankees in Baltimore, back-to-back nights to test to see if we could get the Marlins, which, of course, it was successful, and we did.
Yep. White chocolate, Jason Williams, don't get the due. He's one of the forgotten ones that don't get mentioned. That's a pretty good one. That's a pretty good one. I still remember him yelling in the locker room when they won the championship in 06, and he's yelling, "You see, I told everybody I'm not a cancer." And they won.
Would you throw Keith in there, or does Keith get the rack because of the bow tie?
I don't mind that. I know I like Keith Haskins. He was a good defender. He became a good three-point shooter.
Great coach.
And obviously, but if people want to throw him as the undeserved one, that he doesn't get enough, I got no problem with that.